First of all, thank you for coming on Net Talk, Ms. Deepti. It's been a long pursuit to have an interview with you. Finally, we got an interview and the phones are working. So that would be
Right.
helpful as well, right? So Deepti, as we understand that you are an associate learning and development head at Allstate, a lot of our interviewers, people who are going to be watching this interview, are keeping a keen eye on this interview. The reason being, they want to understand what is the next type of technology that your companies like yours, a giant like yours, would be leaning towards. So according to that, they can prepare or probably take a training and try to pursue a job at your organization or like your organizations as well. So
True.
before we start, if you could give a small introduction about yourself, that would be helpful.
Great. So, Sachin, thank you very much for having me on your show, in fact, your magazine. And it's a pleasure to be here to give the interview, which will help a lot of people.
Thank you.
About myself, I've got close to 20 years of work experience. I'm currently working in the capacity of an associate manager with learning and development with Allstate Solutions Private Limited, and I've been doing this for 5 years now. So of course, I've had different roles. I've been in training, I've been in recruitment, but since the time I've been in learning and development, I absolutely love my job, and it's very, very interesting. So thank you for having me here. Happy to share.
Sure, same here, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am. The first and foremost question is like, as we had discussed over the call, what is the difference between an L&D head and an HR? Considered because both pursue the same kind of studies, and probably after that they move out to become a L&D head, HR, or into training. So, what is the basic
Right.
difference that they have, that happens?
Sure. So there is while learning and leadership development is part of the HR branch, it branches out, HR branches out into learning and leadership development really. So HR is it's human resource. It's dealing with people, but it's dealing with people on, behavioral aspects or disciplinary aspects. It's not a skill that you're checking with someone and you're training someone. While if you look at learning and leadership development, it is learning under any fraternity, be it a technical skill, a functional skill, domain related, it's actually grooming someone or enhancing someone's capability. And when it comes to training, like you spoke, so training is mainly to do with, it could be soft skills related, it could be voice and accent related, or it could be process training. So like you can see, training and learning and leadership development, both of these can impart the skill to an individual. HR doesn't impart a skill, they take care of behavioral issues, will issues, more on humanitarian grounds.
Okay, that's good. Now, let's say, for example, if somebody is pursuing an MBA in HR right now and going to start their career as an HR. So, as far as my little knowledge about HR goes, either it's going to be into recruitment or general HR when you are beginning, right? So, at what
Yes.
point do they make a move towards L&D head or maybe HR VP at a later stage? If you could throw some light on that.
So even under talent acquisition or recruitment, like you mentioned, or if you talk about HR, both of them are also very different. So it really depends on, do I want to get into the recruitment field where I will be sourcing and hiring people, or do I want to become a general HR person, so an HR BP, which is an HR business partner? Do I want to become an HR business partner? A lot of companies today, actually, our organizations are hiring people even as freshers and then hand-holding them to become, HR personnel. So it's not at what point, it's about, do you want to do hiring and sourcing, or do you want to deal and interact and work with people is where you become an HR generalist.
Okay. Now, while a lot of my friends and have been into HR, and in my previous organization, while I left, most of the HRs are in touch with me. Probably I must have been very kind to them. I wanted to understand, like, since I understand that you guys go through a lot of stress, and because you're not dealing with just one individual, you're dealing with every individual in the company because everything comes to your door. And being into the L&D head, learning and development head, you actually have to carve the path for them to grow further because that's a much
Right.
more difficult path, right? Now, how do you do that? Considering some people do not want to walk the road that you have paved for them. They have their own set of things, but then as a team, you have to make them move. How do you do that?
So, I'm sure you've heard of millennials, Sachin.
Yes.
Today the kind of people that we're dealing with are mostly millennials. In fact, 50 to 60%, and in some cases more, percentage of people in every organization today are millennials. And with millennials, you can't really force them to do anything. So when it comes to training someone or carving a roadmap for them or making a career path, you have to actually give them the WIFM, which is what's in it for me. So when you give them the WIFM and help them understand the benefits of whether you take path A or you take path B or path C, and then accordingly, you work towards which field do you really want to get in.
Okay, that's good.
Does that help? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And then since you are actually taking care of the entire L&D head, there would be some nuances while finishing the task or achieving those goals, right? So how do you handle those things, and what are those common nuances that can come in your path if you're an L&D head?
So with learning, there are a lot of nuances that you face today. Now, take for example the COVID situation. It's something that nobody expected and nobody thought would come our way. So we had to directly move from classroom training, which is the traditional methodology, to looking at virtual platforms, looking at how is it that you can conduct virtual trainings, but also make sure that you're keeping them engaged.
Okay.
So you have to come up with different methodologies. If you've heard of theater-based training, or if you've heard of gamification, these are the different methodologies that we adopt or try, and then we, try and engage our employees. Because the most difficult thing to do, or it's actually the simplest but most difficult, is getting somebody to attend your classroom session.
Exactly.
And if some of them are pro-learning, so if they are pro-learning, those are the people you don't really need to push. But if there are some people who need to push, sometimes you have to take the carrot and stick method, where if you've given them the WIFM, they'll come. Sometimes you have to reach out to their leaders, and I explain to the leaders to then have them attend your training.
Okay, that's good. And going forward, let's say, for example, if someone does not want to pursue, let's say, for example, he's currently working in a technology, you really want him to improve and go to a next level, but he doesn't want to do it for the next couple of years. Do you let them be like that, or do you really push them to take that course? How do you do that?
No. So usually there isn't a push. The individual today needs to understand that, if he does not upskill himself, he will not stay relevant in the market, which means we will either look outside. So in a lot of cases, what happens is, we try and explain to the individual that it's important that he attend this training to upskill himself, because within 3 months, he's going to find himself very redundant, and he's going to find it difficult to do the job. So if he doesn't shape up, he's going to have to ship out.
Okay. So, but how do you do that? Explaining is a different part. We can all give this philosophical lines, but then sometimes you really need to, toe that line. You have to do this on the cost of, they might leave the job, or they might have a bad impression about you. So how do you handle that delicate situation?
So this is usually then in that case, learning and leadership development doesn't play the only role in that. We will rope in HR, and then HR usually has a counseling session with them. If they're still not willing to budge, then they're even sometimes put on a disciplinary action plan, or they could be put on a PIP, which is a performance intervention that's done for them. And if they come out of that successfully, then they continue. Otherwise, it's quite possible that they would have to be asked to leave.
Okay. So are these regular instances in an organization like yours, or is just one of those cases that
No, these are one-off cases in my organization. In fact, in my organization, we are very, very pro-learning, and we encourage employees to learn. In fact, our organization even has certain goals in the terms of number of hours that you have to complete in a year. And it's not a push, but every employee has to complete it, which is, as per industry standards, it's three working days, which is 8 into 3, that's 24 hours. And that's the same principle that we have in our organization. So you have a year to complete 24 hours of learning, which is easily doable.
Easily doable, right? That's correct. Now, due to this COVID, as we were just speaking, there has been shift from classroom trainings to gamification to online trainings and everything. Obviously, that must have disturbed your training calendars as well, right? Because people are not available, not everybody is online. Because right now, what I
Yes.
heard with speaking with other L&D heads is that most of the people have returned to their natives, and there's a dearth of internet connection. Some people cannot come on live. The bandwidth is not good. So and so. So how are you actually dealing with that kind of problem, if there is any?
So there are a couple of things that we do as an organization that we've done, when it comes to making sure that all our employees have the connectivity. So if there are some people who've gone back to their native, we're asking them to come back within 15 days, and we've already done it. We're asking them to come back so that we can provide them with all the necessary equipment that is required for them to go active and be able to, be live working. And even the training calendar, yes, it has taken a hit. So initially, maybe if we would have about 2 or 3 trainings in a week, we've had to reduce that to maybe on a fortnightly basis instead of a weekly basis.
Okay, that's good. Now, do you also only do technical trainings or behavioral trainings, or a mix of both at your organization?
All, in fact. So we do technical, we do behavioral, we do behavioral sciences for the leadership group. We also look at, domain-related platforms. So all of that, yes.
Okay, that's great. Now, since the technology is changing right now, right? There are a lot of shift in the technologies. Some of the technologies have not yet been discovered, but people are moving towards them through artificial intelligence and machine learning
Yes.
and whatnot, data analytics, right? So, which kind of technology is taking what do you call it, preeminent, position at your company? Like, what are you guys more focused on training people? Any particular type of people that you are looking to hire or train your own resources at present?
So we believe in building versus buying. We like to build the talent in-house and not buy employees. It's not like we won't get them. We will get them in the market as well. But we focus on training our employees and making sure that we're equipping them with different types of skills that are required. So if somebody, like you mentioned, came in but has no intelligence on machine learning, then that's the certification that we'll send them for. Because at the end of the day, it's going to benefit the organization.
Okay, and any particular technology that you're training them on at present? Let's say, for example, the reason I'm asking this question is a lot of people are getting certification from unknown institute for cost-effective methods. You must have seen on Facebook, Twitter, on Instagram, companies are selling their certification.
Right.
But when they get training and come back, actually they don't understand, because there are very few companies, I would not say institute, companies who can actually give that kind of a particular training. So any kind of particular training that you guys are hiring for, or you think there is a huge market, what you see, so that people can get trained for them?
Sure. So data analytics, like you mentioned, is big data, data analytics, machine learning, then even artificial intelligence. There's a lot of stack developing also that, people are training on. And these are the ones which are currently like in demand. And people should be focusing mainly on machine learning and AI, because those are the future.
Those are the future. That's great, because you see, this is going to be a key point when we are going to publish this interview. And let me be honest on this one, because as a marketing head for a training company, I used to get a lot of inquiries. People asking me about various things. What are the new trainings? People would take a lot of trainings as well. But the thing is, like, I really wanted to give a relevant training, which is important. From 5 years down from here, it's going to be AI and the machine learning. It actually started in China. I think they are they're the pioneers right now. And then in Japan and America was always there. But then China is really picking it up. And now India suddenly realized we have to catch up. So that's where my focus is. So as you said rightly, guys, if you are really looking to do something in technology, just concentrate on machine learning and AI, as Pam said, because these are the things that are going to take you at least 30 years. You can be sure that you're going to be in there, going to have a safe job over there, because it's very critical technologies and they're going to be used everywhere at present. That's right, ma'am. Now, speaking of this, like a lot of people when they join the company, they have a certain set of skills, right? What's your goal when they leave the company, or they want to leave the company, or let's say they are going to stay 5 years in the company? How well equipped do you want to make them? Do you have any plan as such based on the tenure, or is it like if person stays, he keeps getting trained?
So learning is indefinite, and what you want to learn is also indefinite, but it's very crucial for the individual to realize what does he aspire to be. So depending on whether the person, we have career progression maps for our employees. So does a person want to stay in operations? Does he want to move to quality? Does he want to move to training? Does he want to do something totally different? These are the, once he knows that this is the career path that I want to take, we will provide him training related to those departments or those areas only, so that he can excel in those, because we don't want him to be a jack of all trades and master of none.
Okay, that's great, sir. One more question that is related to is that, you see, as I mentioned earlier, beginning of the interview, right, it is not an easy job that you are into, because you will be held responsible for the progression of many of the individuals sitting at your organization, right? When you are there as an L&D head, what goes on through your mind? Because out of the 300, 500 or 1000 plus people that you might be handling, not everybody is the same, not everybody is going to listen, not everybody is going to be a pro learner, right? So there are going to be issues related to that as well, right? So how do you handle that kind of a stress and then come out of that and then give a nice, a way forward to all those people?
See, I think what's very crucial is that you need to focus on one aspect, which is what is it that the individual or what is it that the employee wants. If the employee, if I'm going to give you, for example, it's very simple, Sachin, let's say you don't like apples and you come home and I offer apples. You're going to politely refuse and say, I'm not hungry, or, I don't want apples. But if I keep forcing, but I have, they're really nice, I got them from Kashmir, please try them, it's going to mean nothing to you. Similarly, in the training field as well, or in learning and leadership development as well, we ensure that we are making customized journeys for employees, which means we tailor make their roadmap and give them what is it that they really need. We've got proficiency levels defined for competencies, and those competencies are mapped to their job role. Basis that, they are given the training which is relevant to keep them efficient and make them more effective.
Okay, that's good. Now, what is the future of an L&D professional? As far as I know, this is one such department not every company has. It's only the a little larger companies out of 500 or 1000 plus employees have this particular title. Most of the companies, the regular HR does the make-do things on this one, right? So how do you think is the future of an L&D professional? The reason, if somebody really wants to start off their journey as an L&D professional, so is it viable, or is it something that with an experience that you're going to get?
Absolutely. We can have a fresher start there, in the learning and leadership development field. And the person would obviously start as a training coordinator or an executive level, where he'll learn more about logistics, training coordination, training, content development, and all of this is obviously trained to this person. But as you grow up the ladder, the area, or the I would say the scope for L&LD is huge, and every single day is different. Every single day has different areas that you can tackle, or and that's why if you ask me, the future is huge. Like I said, we've moved today from classroom to virtual, and in virtual as well, we're looking at becoming more if you've heard of VR, which is virtual reality, so many companies have simulations today. They have virtual reality related games which which they use, because the time span or attention span of every employee is reducing, and as it keeps reducing, keeping them engaged becomes difficult. So it is huge, the scope is huge, and if anybody wants to get into this field, they should look at starting from scratch, learning the basics, and then growing up the ladder.
Now, speaking about this attention span, why do you think people are losing this attention span? You would be the right person to answer this, because you are into training, so you have a very handful and more challenging job to make sure that people have that attention while training as well, right? Why is that? Why is that people are having a short span of attention? I think the environment still remains the same, whether you are a Gen Z, whether you are a millennial, or before that, right? Because I'm a millennial, and Gen Z is just 10, and then there's Gen Y or Gen X, something like that, right? So
yes,
it's the
baby
same,
boomers.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So why is it reducing the attention span?
You've actually answered my question for me, Sachin, when you said that I'm a millennial. The reason the attention span is reducing is because if you look at the 80s and 90s, where we had baby boomers, all they had was Doordarshan. You either watch Doordarshan or you get to watch nothing, which is why they preferred to play. Today, when you ask a millennial, he's got Netflix, he's got YouTube, he's got like 100 channels on TV. So the number of opportunities or the amount of options has increased, which is why if you see, they'll hold the remote and keep changing channels, but they're not really watching anything at one time, which is why the attention span keeps changing, because the number of choices has increased.
Okay. But then when they are at work, if you look at it, they're only concentrating on what they're doing, right? So I think when they're spending 5 to, or let's say 7 to 8 hours of their time at the office, their concentration levels are really improving, right? Unless they're at home, right? So I think it's a good amount of, attention span, to be developed. So can we do something on those lines for people to increase the attention span, or can you give something?
Yeah, so you need to keep your employees engaged. When you talk about keeping your employees engaged, you could try different platforms, you could try different methodologies, understand what type of a learner is your learner. He could be a visual learner, which means I need to show more of videos and add more color to my training. If the person is a read and write learner, then I will have to do a lot of text and ask them to take down notes and write stuff. So depending on the type of learners you have, depending on which is the methodology which will engage them or actually interest them more, is where you can increase the attention span.
Okay, that's great to know. Now, speaking of that, as we progress, people do going to learn a lot of technicality in terms of doing AI, ML, and everything, right? How important is behavioral science? How important is behavioral training?
It is very important, and it's unfortunate that people actually don't realize the importance of behavioral training. Even a technical person, for example, thinks that if I learn all the technology which I need to learn, I will be relevant and I will be able to grow up the ladder. But that's not true, unfortunately. When you start growing up the ladder, your technical skills will reduce and your behavioral skills or your leadership skills will take precedence, which means that you need to improve your behavioral skills which are needed for you to be an effective leader. Because once you grow up the ladder, you will not really be doing your on job, on field as much as you will be managing people. And to be able to manage people, your behavioral skills and science is extremely important.
Okay, that's great to know that, because you see, if from now onwards or maybe from 5 years before, you most probably would be handling millennials, and then after Gen Z is going to take over in next 10, 15 years, right? And I don't know, for some reason I just worried about the behavior that's happening right now. It's not their root. It's just like they don't care, or they're not into that self-disciplinary mode, because I was born into the border of being a millennial and non-millennial, just a border.
Right.
So just kind of last of those people, who understand the tough, seen the tough life, also the disciplined life, and then very easy life as well. So we can balance this somewhere, some sort of things, right? So now then, doesn't behavioral science or behavioral management system is going to play a very important role? But considering that they have been brought up in a different way, so how difficult is it going to be to incorporate those things in them when they're actually grown up to take another challenge?
So, for behavioral sciences also, you have something known as behavioral interviews, and most of the organizations today have moved towards behavioral interviews. Now, during behavioral interviews, what you do is you ask behavior-related questions which are aligned to the culture that you have at your organization. And if the person is able to answer or display that he has showed similar traits in his past, then in all likelihood he will display the same traits in the future, and that's how we select or reject employees, not employees but participants or candidates to get hired into our organization. So it's a lot to do with behavioral interviewing as well.
Okay. Do you play any part in recruitment as well?
Yes, we do. Making sure that the questions that are getting asked are competency-related questions, behavior-related questions. Making sure that all the interviewers who interview, candidates, all of them are certified by us, by the Learning and Leadership Development team. One from a
Okay.
calibration perspective, and also you want every candidate to have the same experience, so, and not a different experience in case the interviewer changes.
Okay, that's good to know. Now, since we are in the middle of this pandemic and it's increasing now,
Right.
what are the skills that you would ask people who would, if they would like to join Allstate under your guidance, to do in terms of their training, to do in terms of their education, to do in terms of anything that can make them work at your company, Allstate?
So we are actually hiring a mix. If you have insurance background, then we can easily look at hiring you. But we're doing a lot of hiring for voice as well, which is why communication skills is one aspect which needs to be above average. You should be looking at if you're looking at getting into the technical department, then yes, depending on which technical skill we are looking for, we'd have to look at if the person is equipped with Java. Does he know AWS computing? So there are different fields that we look at. But mainly operations, then yes, insurance background and good communication skills.
Good communication skills. What about something to do with sales? If somebody is in sales, good for nothing, and they want to do sales, are there openings?
Then I think if we have a requirement in the procurement team, then we might look at somebody from sales. Yes.
Okay, that's good to know. Now, coming to the last part of the interview, a lot of these people, who are graduating, who are just graduated, I think so, they will be handed out the certificates, and a lot of people have lost their jobs. Some people are really getting desperate. We are hearing some bad news from a lot of the companies, firing, letting go of the employees and everything. Is there any message that you can give to them, to keep hope, don't lose out on it, or build on your career skills, or some example that you can share?
I think they need to be virtually capable, make themselves virtually capable, because the way this is shaping up, virtual working is not going to go away soon. It's going to be here, and it is the new normal. So looking at how is it that you can equip yourselves on basics like MS Office, so you know how to use Word, PowerPoint, Excel, you know how to use MS Outlook, you know how to connect on Skype, Zoom, Google Meets, plus if there's any bit of, analytical thinking that you can do, because irrespective of the role, we are looking at people who are able to be analytical and think out of the box ideas for any sort of process. So these are skills which I think they should explore, because while people may not be hiring, virtual hiring will start soon, where a lot of people will have working from home jobs.
Okay, that's good to know that there's going to be a virtual hiring. So the first day of the employee is not going to be in the office, but on their new laptop.
Yes, in fact, we do have it. Even right now, we do virtually, we do e-induction. So we connect with our employees or new employees on the phone or on the laptop. We're not seeing them in person. We're doing that right now.
That's a new word, e-induction. There's induction, then there is e-induction. That's good to know how people are changing. And now, let's say, for example, if somebody really wants to get mentored by you, I'm talking about people who have just finished their MBAs, and people really want to start off in L&D department of a company. Would you be able to mentoring them? Because we would be giving your LinkedIn profile after this interview. So we'll be giving a link to your LinkedIn profile, so they might want to connect with you. Are you open to mentoring them in terms of guidance, in terms of developing themselves?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. And anybody who, it didn't come easy to us, but if it can come easy to somebody to make, to save time and make them give somebody, it'll be good. I'm absolutely open to it.
Okay, thank you, Deepti. Deepti, let me thank you for giving us the time for this interview. It was very short and sweet. The interview. People are definitely going to love this interview, because we really wanted to ask those key questions from you, where people could get a knowledge about how to progress in their career. And now, since you are agreed for mentorship, I believe there are going to be a lot of people who are going to be beelining you on their LinkedIn profile to help them out as well. That's really great of you to give that permission as well. We all are trying. My previous interviews, people are all are trying to help them out because this is a very tough time right now, and we
True.
really respect the help that you might bring to them as well. And thank
Okay.
you for. Go ahead.
I should thank you, Sachin, actually. I was just saying thank you because I think we both know, the kind of technical, system-related and network-related, you name it, issues that I've had. But you've been patient, and thank you very much for having me for for the interview. And I'd be happy to help in any way I can. Wish you and your team all the very best.
Thank you. Thank you, Deepti. So nice of you. Take care.
You too. Thanks.
So here we were with Ms. Deepti Jadhav. She is Associate Learning and Development Head at Allstate Insurance. The reason to bring such a terrific personality to our show was to, for people to understand, there is a hope. There's a good hope. They are doing e-inductions. They're hiring virtually. So even if you're sitting at a remote location or at your village at any part of India, they're looking to hire and they want to hire. Provided that you have good qualities, you have good behavioral qualities, you have good technical knowledge, and you qualify for the job. My message after this interview is going to be, just be hopeful. Learn the new techniques, which is which is ML, machine learning, AI, artificial intelligence, full stack development. I think those are the things, technology that are picking it up. There's a lot of demand for those skills because everything is going to be artificial intelligence in terms of even your social networking as well. So if in social networking there is going to be artificial intelligence, imagine the kind of things that are going to happen in an insurance firm, which is dealing in data, which is dealing in a lot of numbers. So definitely that would be helpful. What I would say before closing this interview is just keep the hope. Don't read newspapers where they say they are firing people. No, there are a lot of hirings actually. So this is a good time to to upskill yourself and keep working hard. And thank you for joining at Net Talk. We'll see you soon. Thank you.